Admiral Sarah Chen pressed her face against the cold window of Luna Station and watched her world die. Below her, massive space elevators stretched like silver threads from Earth's surface into the black void. Every few minutes, another cargo. Pod rose along those threads, carrying pieces of humanity's military might to be dumped in the orbital graveyard. The USS Gerald Ford, the last of Earth's aircraft carriers, tumbled slowly past the station. Its flight deck, once home to fighter jets that could level cities, now served as a platform for alien monitoring equipment. Sarah had served on that ship for 3 years. She knew every corridor, every room, every bolt that held it together. Now it was just space junk. "Another one coming up," said Lieutenant Morrison, pointing to the nearest elevator. A pod the size of a city block climbed steadily toward them. Through its transparent walls, Sarah could see the dark shapes of tanks. Helicopters and missile systems all crammed together like toys in a box. The Galactic Council had been very clear about their demands. Humanity could join the galactic community, but only after proving they were no longer a threat. That meant getting rid of every weapon, every warship, every piece of military technology Earth had ever built. The aliens called it the Scrap Decree. Sarah called it surrender. "How much more?" Morrison asked, his voice tight with anger that matched her own. Sarah checked her tablet. The numbers made her sick. 47 more loads. That's everything from the Pacific Fleet, what's left of the European Defense Force, and most of the orbital platforms. She paused, watching another ship drift by. 300 years of human military development gone in 3 months. The aliens had made it seem reasonable. Earth's history was violent, they said. Humans fought too much, killed too often, destroyed too easily. Look at the world wars, the nuclear weapons, the centuries of conflict. How could such a species be trusted with advanced technology? The Zephyrian ambassador had explained it during the big meeting in Geneva. His crystalline form had sparkled in the conference room lights as he spoke in his musical voice. "Your species shows great potential," he had said, "but potential must be guided. You have proven you cannot handle the responsibility of advanced weapons. Remove them, and we will share the stars with you." The choice had been simple. Accept the Scrap Decree and join the galaxy as junior members, allowed to trade and learn but never to fight. Or refuse and stay alone on Earth, cut off from all the wonders the galaxy offered. Faster than light travel, clean energy, medical, technology that could cure any disease, materials that could build anything imaginable. Humanity had chosen the stars. Sarah remembered the vote in the Global Assembly. 7 billion people watching as their leaders decided Earth's future. So, debate had lasted for weeks. Some wanted to fight, to tell the aliens they could keep their technology if it meant giving up human freedom. Others argued that joining the galaxy was worth any price. In the end, fear had won. Not fear of war, but fear of being left behind. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders. Earth was just one small world in an ocean of possibilities. When the final vote came, it was almost unanimous. Only the military commanders voted against it. Now Sarah watched those commanders' life's work floating past her window like garbage. "Admiral, you need to see this." Morrison handed her a message pad. The screen showed a priority communication from Earth. Sarah read it twice before she understood what she was seeing. Dr. Marcus Webb wanted to meet with her, privately. Sarah knew Webb by reputation. He had been one of Earth's best military engineers. Before the Scrap Decree, his designs had made human weapons faster, stronger, and more deadly than ever before. He had also been the most vocal opponent of the alien deal. When the vote passed, he had disappeared from public view. The message was simple. Luna Station, Dock 7, AO 300 hours. Come alone. Trust no one else. Sarah looked at the time. It was already past midnight. Dock 7 was in the old section of the station, where they stored equipment waiting for disposal. It was also the one place on Luna Station without alien monitoring. She made her decision. 2 hours later, Sarah walked through the empty corridors of Dock 7. The artificial gravity was set low here, making each step feel like a gentle bounce. Emergency lights cast long shadows between stacks of military containers waiting for their trip to the scrapyard. Admiral Chen. The voice came from behind a pile of missile crates. Dr. Marcus Webb stepped into the light, and Sarah was shocked by how much he had changed. The confident engineer she remembered from briefings was gone. This man looked tired, angry, and dangerous. "Dr. Webb, I thought you had left the military." "I did, but I never stopped being an engineer." He gestured to the containers around them. "Do you know what's in these boxes, Admiral?" "Weapons systems, targeting computers, engine parts, everything we're throwing away to make the aliens happy." Webb smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. "Wrong. These boxes contain the raw materials for the most advanced weapons the galaxy has ever seen." Sarah stared at him. "Have you lost your mind? These are scrapped systems. The aliens made sure they can't be used again." "The aliens made sure they can't be used the same way again," Webb corrected. "But they don't understand human engineering. They don't understand how we think about problems." He led her deeper into the dock, past rows of containers that stretched into the darkness. The Zephyrians build everything to be perfect: clean energy, efficient weapons, ships that never break down. It's very advanced, very elegant, and very predictable. Webb stopped beside a container marked with radiation warnings. Inside, Sarah could see the dark bulk of a nuclear warhead. "Humans don't build perfect things, Admiral. We build things that work. We build things that can be fixed with spare parts and creativity. We build things that can be modified, improved, and completely changed when we need them to do something new." "The aliens won't let us keep any of this," Sarah said. "They're monitoring everything." "Are they?" Webb opened his jacket and pulled out a small device that looked like a cross between a tablet and a piece of alien technology. "This is a scanner built with Zephyrian components. Very legal, very innocent. But it's also been modified with human engineering principles." He activated the device, and Sarah watched numbers scroll across the screen. "This dock is supposed to be empty of anything valuable. The aliens scanned it yesterday and found nothing worth their attention. But look at what my scanner sees." The screen showed a detailed map of everything in the dock. Every weapon, every computer, every piece of equipment was highlighted and cataloged. But more than that, the scanner was showing connections between different systems. Lines of light linked seemingly unrelated pieces of technology. "I've been studying the scrapyard for months," Webb continued. "Every piece of equipment they make us throw away, every system they say is too dangerous for us to keep. And I've discovered something amazing." He pointed to the screen, where dozens of connection lines created a complex web. Human military technology wasn't designed to work with alien systems, but it can be made to work. And when it does, the results are unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen. Sarah studied the display. "What are you talking about?" "Hybrid technology, Admiral. Human weapons powered by alien energy sources. Human armor enhanced with alien materials. Human tactics applied to alien science." Webb's eyes gleamed with excitement. "The Zephyrians think they're forcing us to disarm. Instead, they're giving us access to the building blocks of weapons that will make our old arsenal look like stone. Knives." "This is insane," Sarah said, but she found herself leaning closer to the screen. "Even if you're right, we can't build anything. The moment we start collecting scrap, the aliens will notice." "Will they?" Webb switched the display to show the orbital scrapyard itself. Hundreds of ships, thousands of vehicles, millions of tons of equipment drifted in loose formation around Earth. "They see garbage, Admiral. Junk that's no longer a threat. They're not watching it anymore." The screen zoomed in on a section of the scrapyard where several aircraft carriers drifted close together. But what if that garbage could be gathered together? What if it could be moved to somewhere the aliens aren't looking? What if there were people willing to work in secret to turn Earth's military surplus into something completely new? Sarah looked at Webb for a long moment. What he was suggesting was treason against the scrap decree. If the aliens discovered it, Earth would be cut off from the galactic community forever. Humanity would be alone again, isolated and primitive. But as she watched another container of human weapons drift past the dock's window, Sarah realized that being alone might be better than being helpless. "What do you need from me?" she asked. Webb smiled again, and this time it reached his eyes. "I need someone who understands how to organize large military operations. Someone who can coordinate between different groups without attracting attention. Someone who still has contacts throughout Earth's defense forces. You want to rebuild the military in secret. I want to build something better than the military we had," Webb corrected. "I want to build ships and weapons that use the best of human and alien technology. I want to prove that making us disarm was the biggest mistake the galaxy ever made." Sarah looked around the dock, at all the weapons and equipment waiting to be thrown away. For 3 months, she had watched Earth surrender its ability to defend itself. She had followed orders and stayed quiet while aliens decided humanity's fate. "Show me your plans," she said. Webb led her to a secured container at the back of the dock. Inside, instead of weapons, Sarah found a workshop filled with blueprints, computer models, and prototype devices. Everything was clearly labeled and organized with military precision. "This is just the beginning," Webb explained, pulling up holographic displays that showed ship designs unlike anything Sarah had ever seen. Submarines that can operate in space, fighter jets with faster-than-light engines, battleships armed, with weapons that bypass every defensive system the galaxy knows about. The designs were wild, aggressive, and completely impossible by normal engineering standards. They combined human military equipment with alien technology in ways that should not work. But Webb's calculations showed that they would not only work, they would be devastatingly effective. "How long would this take?" Sarah asked. 2 years to build a prototype fleet. Maybe 3 if we're careful." Webb's expression grew serious. "But we'd have to be very careful, Admiral. One mistake, one discovery, and Earth loses everything." Sarah thought about the choice in front of her. She could report Webb to the authorities, turn in his plans, and continue serving in a human military that existed only to watch alien ships patrol Earth's space. Or she could help him build something that might give humanity back its independence. The decision was easier than she expected. "I'm in," she said, "but we do this right. Military discipline, proper organization, and absolute secrecy until we're ready." Webb nodded. "Agreed. Welcome to Operation Forge, Admiral." As Sarah shook his hand, she looked through the workshop window at Earth, hanging in the darkness below. Somewhere down there, the space elevators were still running, still carrying away the weapons that had once protected her world. But if Webb was right, those weapons weren't really gone. They were just waiting to be reborn as something the galaxy had never seen before. Something that would remind the universe that humans were dangerous for a reason. 6 months after the meeting in Dock 7, Admiral Sarah Chen stood in what used to be a mining station on Asteroid Ceres. The facility had been abandoned when the aliens provided better mining technology to Earth. Now it served a very different purpose. The main chamber had been converted into a workshop that stretched for nearly a kilometer through the asteroid's heart. Work lights blazed everywhere, casting harsh shadows as teams of engineers and technicians labored over strange hybrid machines that seemed to grow more complex every day. "Status report," Sarah called to Dr. Webb, who was hunched over a workbench, covered with components that glowed with alien energy. "Better than expected," Webb replied without looking up. His hands moved carefully as he connected a human targeting computer to a Zephyrian power crystal. "The hybrid systems are proving more stable than our models predicted." Sarah walked closer and watched sparks dance between the two technologies. 6 months ago, she would have said what Webb was doing was impossible. Human and alien technology were built on completely different principles. Humans made things that were tough, simple, and easy to repair. Aliens made things that were perfect, efficient, and delicate. "Show me," Sarah said. Webb activated the hybrid system, and the targeting computer came to life. But instead of its normal green display, the screen blazed with silver light that seemed to move like liquid mercury. Numbers and targeting solutions appeared faster than any human computer could calculate them. "It's not just working," Webb explained, his voice full of excitement. "It's working better than either system could alone. The Zephyrian crystal doesn't just power the computer, it enhances it, makes it think faster, and see further." Sarah studied the display. The targeting system was tracking objects throughout the asteroid belt with accuracy she had never seen before. "What's the range?" "We tested it yesterday on a piece of debris near Jupiter, locked on instantly from here." Webb grinned. "Admiral, this one computer has better targeting capability than our entire orbital defense network had before the scrap decree. And this is just the beginning. This is just one small example." Webb led her deeper into the workshop, past teams, working on dozens of other projects. "Every day we discover new combinations that shouldn't work but do. Human combustion engines enhanced with alien gravity manipulation. Kinetic weapons guided by energy field targeting. Armor plating that combines human durability with alien force fields." They stopped beside a massive shape covered by protective sheeting. Webb pulled the cover away to reveal something that made Sarah's breath catch in her throat. It was clearly built from human military equipment. She could see the hull plates of a destroyer, the engines from fighter jets, and the weapons, systems from a dozen different vehicles. But alien technology had been woven throughout the structure like veins of light. Crystal conduits carried energy between systems that glowed with colors that had no names. "What is it?" Sarah asked. "The prototype," Webb said proudly. "We call her the Retribution. She's built from the hull of the USS Arlington, engines from scrapped F-35 fighters, weapons from decommissioned tanks, and armor from 3 different aircraft carriers." Sarah walked around the ship trying to understand what she was seeing. It was unlike anything in her military experience. The design was aggressive, almost angry, with weapon ports jutting from unexpected angles and armor plating that looked like it could stop a meteor. "The aliens won't know what to make of her," Webb continued. "Their ships are built for efficiency and elegance. This is built for war." "Will it work?" "Better than work. Watch this." Webb activated a control panel and the ship's engines came to life. Instead of the steady hum of alien propulsion, the Retribution's engines roared like awakening dragons. The sound echoed through the asteroid with a power that made Sarah's bones vibrate. "The aliens build quiet ships because they think noise is inefficient," Webb explained over the roar. "But human engines aren't just propulsion systems. They're psychological weapons. Any enemy that hears that sound will know they're facing something dangerous." Sarah could see his point. The Retribution sounded like it wanted to fight. More than that, it sounded like it would win. "How many people know about this?" she asked as Webb shut down the engines. 47 engineers, 32 technicians, and 12 pilots. All volunteers, all sworn to secrecy. Webb's expression grew serious. "Most of them are people who lost family in the border wars, or who served in units that were disbanded after the scrap decree. They understand what we're really fighting for." Sarah nodded. She had been careful in recruiting for Operation Forge. Every person involved had reasons to want Earth's independence back. More importantly, they all understood that discovery would mean exile or worse. "What about materials?" "The aliens must. Notice we're using their technology." "That's the beautiful part," Webb said with a smile. "We're not stealing anything. Every crystal, every energy conductor, every piece of alien tech we use is legally purchased through normal trade agreements. Earth buys power systems for mining operations, gravity manipulators for construction projects, and energy weapons for asteroid clearing. All completely legitimate. And then you modify them. And then we improve them, Webb corrected. The aliens sell us technology that's safe, controlled, and limited. But they don't understand human engineering creativity. We take their safe systems and make them dangerous. Webb led her to another workstation, where a technician was testing a weapon that combined a human railgun with alien energy focusing technology. When fired, it didn't just launch a projectile. It launched a projectile wrapped in an energy field that could punch through any armor Sarah had ever seen. The aliens think kinetic weapons are primitive, Webb explained as they watched the test. Results. They use energy weapons because they're clean, efficient, and precise. But kinetic weapons have advantages that energy weapons don't, such as they're harder to defend against. Alien shields are designed to disperse energy. They're not built to stop a tungsten rod traveling at half the speed of light. Webb pulled up tactical displays that showed the weapon's performance. This railgun can penetrate any ship in the galactic fleet. The aliens have no defense against it because they never thought they needed one. Sarah studied the data with growing amazement. You're not just building new weapons. You're building weapons that exploit weaknesses in alien defenses. Exactly. The galaxy has been at peace for so long that their military technology is designed for efficiency, not effectiveness. They've forgotten how to build things that are specifically designed to kill other things. Webb's eyes gleamed with an intensity that was both exciting and frightening. But humans never forgot that lesson. They continued through the workshop, past teams working on projects that seemed like science fiction. A group of former submarine engineers was building a stealth ship that could hide from any sensor in the galaxy. Fighter pilots were designing spacecraft that could outmaneuver anything the aliens had ever built. Tank crews were constructing assault ships with armor so thick they could ram through enemy formations. "How long before we have a fleet?" Sarah asked. "The Retribution will be ready for space trials in 3 months," Webb replied. "After that, we can start mass production. I estimate 18 months to build a fleet of 50 ships. 50 ships against the entire galaxy? 50 ships that the galaxy has never seen before," Webb corrected. "Ships that use weapons and tactics they don't understand. Ships built by engineers who learned their trade in humanity's wars." Sarah could see the logic, but the numbers still seemed impossible. "Even if you're right about the technological advantages, we'd still be outnumbered thousands to 1. Numbers don't always decide battles, Admiral. You know that better than anyone." Webb pulled up historical files on Sarah's tablet, showing battles from Earth's military history. How many times have smaller forces defeated larger ones through superior tactics and technology? Sarah scrolled through the examples. Agincourt, where English longbows destroyed French cavalry. Trafalgar, where Nelson's tactics won against superior numbers. Midway, where code-breaking and courage turned the tide of a war. "The aliens have forgotten how to fight," Webb continued. "They've been peaceful for so long that warfare is just theory to them. But every human in this facility has studied war, practiced war, and lived with the knowledge that someday they might have to fight for their lives. And you think that experience gives us an advantage? I think that experience is the only reason we have a chance." Webb led her to a viewing port that looked out into space. In the distance, they could see the orbital scrapyard where humanity's discarded weapons drifted in slow formation. "The aliens looked at that junkyard and saw proof that humans had given up fighting," Webb said. "But they made a mistake. They thought disarming us was the same as defeating us. They forgot that humans are most dangerous when they have nothing left to lose." Sarah watched the scrapyard and thought about everything she had seen in the workshop. The hybrid technologies, the aggressive designs, the weapons that exploited alien weaknesses. It was ambitious, risky, and completely insane. It was also the most human thing she could imagine. "What do you need from me?" she asked. "Organization, leadership, the kind of military planning that turns a collection of prototype ships into an actual fleet." Webb turned to face her directly. "I can build the weapons, Admiral, but you need to build the force that will use them." Sarah looked around the workshop at all the people working to give humanity back its teeth. They were engineers and technicians, pilots and soldiers, all united by the belief that Earth deserved to defend itself. "All right," she said finally. "But we do this properly. Chain of command, proper training, and real military discipline. If we're going to build a fleet, we're going to build it right." Webb nodded. "Agreed. How do we start?" Sarah was already making plans in her head. "First, we need to expand recruitment. Carefully, quietly, but we need more people. Second, we need more facilities. One asteroid isn't enough to build a real fleet. Third, we need to start thinking about strategy. What's the point of having these weapons if we don't know how to use them?" "And fourth?" Webb asked. Sarah looked out at the scrapyard again, where Earth's discarded military might continued its slow dance around the planet. "Fourth, we need to hope that when the time comes to reveal what we've built, the galaxy is ready for the return of human warfare." As she spoke, alarms began sounding throughout the facility. Everyone stopped working and looked toward the main communications center, where a technician was frantically trying to decode an incoming signal. "What is it?" Sarah called. The technician looked up with fear in his eyes. "Long-range sensors are detecting ships, Admiral. Alien ships, moving toward the outer colonies. A lot of them." Sarah and Webb exchanged glances. They had always known that eventually something would test their work. They just hadn't expected it to happen so soon. "How long until they reach Earth?" Sarah asked. "At current speed. 6 days?" Sarah looked around the workshop at their single prototype ship and their half-finished weapons. 6 days to decide whether Operation Forge was ready to defend humanity, or whether Earth would face its first real threat since the scrap decree completely defenseless. "Get me everything we have on those ships," she ordered, "and prep the retribution for launch. It looks like we're about to find out if human engineering is as dangerous as we think it is." 2 years had passed since the false alarm that nearly exposed Operation Forge. The approaching ships had turned out to be Zephyrian traders carrying new technology to the outer colonies. But the scare had taught Admiral Sarah Chen and Dr. Marcus Webb valuable lessons about readiness and secrecy. Now, standing in the command center of Facility Prime, Sarah watched status reports from 17 different asteroid bases scroll across holographic displays. What had started as a single workshop in series had grown into the largest covert military operation in human history. "Final count?" she asked Commander Torres, her new operations chief. 47 combat vessels completed and tested, Torres replied, consulting his tablet. 12 heavy assault ships, 23 destroyers, and 12 stealth reconnaissance craft, all equipped with hybrid human-alien technology. Sarah nodded, studying the deployment map that showed their secret fleet scattered throughout the asteroid belt. Each ship was hidden inside a hollowed-out asteroid or camouflaged to look like mining equipment. To alien sensors, the belt appeared to contain nothing more threatening than rock and ice. What about personnel? 837 active crew members, all volunteers from disbanded Earth Defense Forces. Another 200 technicians and engineers maintaining the facilities. Torres paused. "Admiral, I have to ask, are we really ready for this?" Before Sarah could answer, Dr. Webb approached from the engineering section. He looked older than his 50 years, worn down by months of non-stop work and the constant pressure of keeping Operation Forge secret. "The Phoenix is ready for final inspection," he announced. "Would you like to see what 2 years of work looks like, Admiral?" Sarah followed Webb through corridors carved from solid rock. The asteroid base had grown into a small city, with living quarters, workshops, and training facilities all hidden beneath the surface. Hundreds of people lived and worked here now, all dedicated to giving humanity back its ability to defend itself. They entered the main construction bay and Sarah stopped walking. Before her stretched the largest ship she had ever seen. The Phoenix was built from the hulls of 3 aircraft carriers welded together and reinforced with alien materials. It was over 2 kilometers long and bristled with weapons that combined human aggression with alien precision. "My God," Sarah breathed. "She's beautiful, isn't she?" Webb said proudly. The main hull is from the USS Enterprise, USS Nimitz, and USS Roosevelt. The engine system combines human fusion reactors with Zephyrian energy amplifiers. The armor is human steel plates layered with alien force field generators. Sarah walked closer to the massive ship, running her hand along hull plating that seemed to pulse with contained energy. "What about weapons?" "That's where it gets interesting." Webb led her to an observation platform that gave them a view of the ship's weapon systems. The main guns are human rail weapons enhanced with alien targeting systems. They can fire projectiles at 90% of light speed with perfect accuracy at ranges up to 50,000 kilometers. Jesus. That's better than anything we had. Before the scrap decree. Much better. But that's not the best part. Webb activated a holographic display that showed the ship's weapon loadout. The secondary systems include missile launchers that fire human nuclear warheads wrapped in alien energy fields. The aliens have no defense against them because they've never seen anything like them. Sarah studied the technical specifications with growing amazement. The Phoenix wasn't just a warship. It was a fusion of everything humanity had learned about. Warfare with everything the aliens had shared about advanced technology. "How many crew does she need?" 1,500, including pilots for the fighter squadrons, Webb replied. "We've been training crews in simulation chambers for the past year. They're ready." Sarah nodded, then looked around the construction bay at the other ships in various stages of completion. "And the rest of the fleet?" "Each ship is unique, designed for specific mission profiles." Webb pointed to a sleek vessel that looked more like a submarine than a spaceship. "The Vengeance is built for stealth operations. She can slip past any sensor network in the galaxy and strike targets without warning." He indicated another ship that looked like a flying fortress. "The Retribution is pure assault, heavy armor, massive weapons, designed to punch through enemy defenses and keep fighting no matter what they throw at her." "And the fighters?" 64 squadrons of hybrid fighters, each one built from scrapped human jets enhanced with alien propulsion and weapon systems. Webb's expression grew fierce. "They're faster and more maneuverable than anything the galaxy has ever seen, and they're piloted by humans who learned to fly in Earth's atmosphere, where a single mistake means death." Sarah could see the pattern in Webb's designs. Every ship, every weapon, every system was built to exploit the weaknesses of an enemy that had forgotten how to fight. The galaxy's military technology was advanced but predictable. Human technology was primitive but adaptable. Combined, they created weapons that shouldn't exist. "Status on the other facilities?" Sarah asked. Commander Torres consulted his tablet. Again. "Facility 7 has completed the last of the stealth ships. Facility 12 finished the fighter production line yesterday. All bases are operating under full communication blackout and showing no signs of alien detection." "Good. What about supplies?" "Fully stocked with ammunition, spare parts, and provisions for extended operations," Torres replied. "We've also established hidden supply caches throughout the asteroid belt and the outer colonies." Sarah was about to respond when alarms began sounding throughout the facility. Red lights flashed as the alert signal echoed through the corridors. She had heard that sound too many times in recent months, always for false alarms or training. Exercises. This time felt different. "Admiral to Command Center," came the voice over the intercom. "Priority Alpha communication incoming. Sarah, Webb, and Torres rushed back to the command center, where technicians were working frantically to decode an encrypted transmission from Earth. The main display showed signal analysis and source tracking data. "What do we have?" Sarah demanded. Lieutenant Hayes looked up from her console with fear in her eyes. "Long-range sensors are detecting massive fleet movement, Admiral. Multiple species converging on Earth space." "Show me." The main display switched to a tactical view of the solar system. Dozens of red contacts were moving toward Earth from different directions. As Sarah watched, more contacts appeared at the edge of sensor range. "How many ships?" she asked. "Initial count shows over 300 vessels," Hayes replied. "Crexan Empire heavy cruisers, Zephyrian battle groups, and fleets from at least 6 other species." Sarah felt her blood run cold. The Crexan Empire had been pushing for more aggressive action against human expansion for months. If they were leading a combined fleet toward Earth, it could only mean one thing. "Are they responding to our communications?" she asked. "Negative, Admiral. All standard channels are being ignored. They're also jamming communication between Earth and the outer colonies." Webb stepped forward, his face grim. "This is it, isn't it? They've decided humanity has become too much of a threat." Sarah studied the tactical display, counting enemy ships and calculating distances. "How long until they reach Earth?" "At current speed, 68 hours, Hayes answered. Sarah looked around the command center at faces filled with determination and fear. For 2 years, they had worked in secret to build weapons that could defend humanity. They had always known this day might come, but she had hoped for more time. "Options?" she asked. "We could send a message to Earth Command. Warn them about the incoming fleet," Torres suggested. "And reveal that we've been building an illegal military force for 2 years?" Webb shook his head. "They'd probably surrender to the aliens rather than risk galactic exile." Sarah knew he was right. Earth's government had invested too much in the peaceful relationship with the galaxy. They would never approve of Operation Forge, even to save themselves. "What about running?" Hayes asked quietly. "We could evacuate the facilities, disappear into deep space, live to fight another day. And leave Earth defenseless?" Sarah's voice carried a tone that ended that discussion immediately. She turned to study the tactical display again, looking at the red contacts that represented the largest alien fleet ever assembled against humanity. 300 ships crewed by species that had been fighting wars when humans were still building pyramids. Against them, Operation Forge could field 47 ships crewed by humans whose military experience came from a species the galaxy considered primitive and violent. The smart choice was clear. Run, hide, and hope Earth could negotiate its way out of trouble. The human choice was just as clear. "Torres, send activation codes to all facilities," Sarah ordered. "Full alert status. Prepare for immediate deployment." "Admiral," Webb said quietly. "Are you sure about this? Once we reveal the fleet, there's no going back. Earth will either be independent or destroyed." Sarah looked at him for a long moment. "Marcus, 2 years ago you told me that humans are most dangerous when they have nothing left to lose. Well, we're about to lose everything. Our planet, our independence, maybe even our lives." She turned to address the entire command center. "But we're not going to lose without a fight. And we're not going to let Earth face this alone." Activation. Orders went out across the asteroid belt. Hidden bases began powering up their vessels. Crews that had trained for months in secret were finally called to their battle stations. The Scrapyard fleet that had been built from humanity's discarded weapons was about to face its first real test. "All ships report ready status," Torres announced as confirmations came in from across the fleet. Sarah walked to the main display and looked at the tactical situation one more time. 47 human ships against 300 alien vessels. Weapons that had never been tested in real combat against technology that had dominated the galaxy for centuries. "Send a message to all ships," she said. "This is Admiral Chen. Today we find out if 2 years of work and sacrifice were worth it. Today we prove that making humanity disarm was the biggest mistake the galaxy ever made." She paused, thinking of all the people who had believed in Operation Forge when it seemed impossible. "All ships, prepare for combat operations. We're going to show them that humans are dangerous for a reason." As the Phoenix and her sister ships began emerging from their hiding places throughout the asteroid belt, Sarah couldn't help but smile. The aliens thought they were coming to finish off a defenseless species. They were about to learn that humanity's scrapyard had become something far more dangerous than they ever imagined. The bridge of the Phoenix hummed with controlled tension as Admiral Sarah Chen watched the alien fleet approach Earth. 48 hours had passed since the first enemy ships appeared on long-range sensors. Now they were close enough to see. "Individual vessel classifications. Final count, Lieutenant Hayes," Sarah ordered. 317 ships confirmed, Admiral," Hayes replied from her sensor station. Crexan Empire battlecruisers leading the formation, followed by Zephyrian destroyers and support vessels from 6 other species. Sarah studied the tactical display that dominated the center of the bridge. The alien fleet was massive, overwhelming, and moving with the confidence of forces that had never faced serious opposition. Their formation was textbook perfect, elegant, and efficient. It was also completely predictable. "Commander Torres, fleet status?" "All 47 ships report ready for combat operations," Torres answered. "The fleet is positioned throughout the asteroid belt as planned. Enemy sensors show no sign of detecting our presence." Sarah nodded. Operation Forge had one crucial advantage. The aliens still thought they were approaching a defenseless world. Earth's official military consisted of a few patrol ships and monitoring stations. The Galactic Council had been very thorough in making sure humanity couldn't threaten anyone. "Dr. Webb, are the weapon systems ready?" Webb looked up from his engineering station, where displays showed the status of every hybrid system on the ship. "All weapons are online and functioning perfectly, Admiral. The railguns are charged, the missile systems are loaded, and the energy shields are at full power." "And the other ships?" "Every vessel in the fleet is operating beyond design specifications," Webb replied with pride. 2 years of testing and refinement have paid off. These ships are ready for anything the galaxy can throw at them." Sarah hoped he was right. In 30 minutes, the leading edge of the alien fleet would reach Earth's orbital defense perimeter. That's when the Crexan commander would send his ultimatum to the planet below, demanding immediate surrender and the installation of a galactic occupation force. That's also when Operation Forge would reveal itself to the galaxy. "Lieutenant Hayes, any response from Earth Command?" "Negative, Admiral. Earth Defense Command is maintaining communication silence as ordered." Hayes paused. "Admiral, are you sure they'll go along with this? When shooting starts, they might try to stop us." Sarah had wondered the same thing. Earth's government had invested everything in peaceful cooperation with the galaxy. When they discovered that a secret military force had been built in violation of the scrap decree, they might side with the aliens rather than risk galactic exile. "They'll have to make their own choice," Sarah said finally. "But we're not asking for permission to defend our home." The main display chimed with an incoming transmission. The alien fleet was attempting to contact Earth on all standard frequencies. Sarah nodded to Hayes, who opened the channel. The face that appeared on screen was unlike anything in Sarah's experience. The Crexan commander had features that seemed carved from black stone, with silver eyes that showed no emotion. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of a species that had conquered dozens of worlds. "This is Fleet Commander Thane of the Crexan Imperial Navy addressing the human government of Earth. Your species has violated the terms of the scrap decree by expanding colonial operations without galactic approval. You have also failed to provide adequate tribute payments as required by the Galactic Cooperation Treaty." Sarah felt her anger rising. The treaty he mentioned had been signed after the scrap decree, imposing economic restrictions that kept Earth permanently dependent on alien technology. Therefore, Commander Thane continued, the Galactic Council has authorized this fleet to establish direct control over the human species. You will surrender all government functions to galactic oversight. You will accept the installation of monitoring stations on every human world. You will provide complete records of all human activities for the past 5 years. The alien commander paused, his silver eyes seeming to look directly at Sarah through the screen. Any resistance will be considered an act of aggression against the galactic community and will be met with appropriate force. You have 1 hour to respond with complete acceptance of these terms. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Sarah looked around at her crew and saw the same anger she felt reflected on every face. The aliens weren't just demanding Earth's surrender. They were demanding humanity's complete submission. Admiral, Torres said quietly, Earth Command is requesting emergency communication. Sarah nodded, and the display switched to show General Morrison, Earth's defense commander. She had known him for 20 years, since they were both junior officers fighting in the border wars. Sarah, what the hell is going on? Morrison demanded. Our sensors are detecting massive energy signatures throughout the asteroid belt. Signatures that match military-grade weapons. Hello, David, Sarah replied calmly. I suppose it's time for explanations. You're damn right it is. Are you telling me you've been building warships out there? Do you have any idea what this means? It means Earth has a chance to remain free, Sarah answered. David, that fleet isn't here to negotiate. They're here to turn humanity into slaves. And your secret navy is going to stop them. Sarah, there are over 300 ships out there. They'll crush anything you've built. Sarah looked at Dr. Webb, who nodded encouragingly. Maybe, but they're not expecting a fight, David. They think we're defenseless. That gives us an advantage. This is insane, Morrison said, but Sarah could hear uncertainty in his voice. If you attack that fleet, Earth will be cut off from the galactic community forever. And if we don't attack, Earth will be a puppet state forever, Sarah replied. At least this way we go down fighting. Morrison was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he spoke again. What do you need from Earth Defense Command? Sarah smiled. She had known David Morrison for too long to doubt his loyalty when it counted. Stay out of our way and be ready to support us if this works. And if it doesn't work? Then surrender and tell the galaxy that Operation Forge was a rogue military unit acting without government approval. Morrison nodded grimly. Understood. Good luck, Admiral. The transmission ended, and Sarah turned back to the tactical display. The alien fleet was approaching Earth's orbital perimeter, moving with the confidence of forces that had never been challenged. All ships, this is Admiral Chen, she announced on the fleet-wide communication channel. Operation Forge is now active. Engage stealth systems and move to attack positions. Throughout the asteroid belt, 47 ships began moving toward the alien fleet. They used modified submarine stealth technology to avoid detection, approaching from angles the aliens would never expect. Admiral, Hayes called from her station, I'm detecting energy buildup in the alien fleet. They're powering weapons. Sarah nodded. The aliens were preparing to bombard Earth if the planet refused to surrender. It was time to show them that humanity wasn't as helpless as they believed. All ships, prepare to engage, Sarah ordered. Target the lead battlecruisers. Let's give them something to think about. The Phoenix and her sister ships emerged from the asteroid belt like ghosts materializing in space. The aliens' first indication that something was wrong came when their sensors detected dozens of energy signatures that shouldn't exist. Enemy fleet is breaking formation, Torres reported. They're trying to identify our ships. Sarah could imagine the confusion on the alien bridges. Their databases contain no record of human vessels with these energy signatures. According to their intelligence, Earth had no military capability beyond a few patrol boats. Fleet Commander. Thane is transmitting, Hayes announced. Sarah had the transmission put on screen. The Crexan commander's stone features showed something she had never seen before in an alien face. Uncertainty. "Unknown vessels, identify yourselves immediately," Thane demanded. "You are in violation of galactic law by operating armed ships without proper authorization." Sarah smiled as she activated her own transmission. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force, commanding the Scrapyard fleet. The vessels you're looking at are built from the military equipment you forced us to throw away." She paused to let that sink in. "We took your garbage and made it dangerous. Now get away from our planet." Thane's expression shifted to anger. "Impossible. Human technology is primitive and ineffective. You cannot threaten this fleet." "Let me show you how wrong you are," Sarah replied. "All ships, open fire." The Phoenix led the attack, her railguns sending tungsten projectiles toward the alien fleet at 90% of light speed. The aliens' first indication of the attack came when their lead battlecruiser's shields failed under impacts they had never experienced before. Kinetic weapons weren't supposed to be that effective against energy shields, but human railguns enhanced with alien targeting systems hit with precision and power that overwhelmed defensive systems designed for energy weapons. "Target destroyed," Torres reported as the Crexan battlecruiser broke apart under the Phoenix's bombardment. Throughout space, the Scrapyard fleet opened fire with weapons the galaxy had never seen. Hybrid technology that combined human aggression with alien precision struck targets with devastating effect. Ships that had ruled space for centuries found themselves helpless against weapons that exploited every weakness in their design. "Enemy fleet is in chaos," Hayes reported. "They're trying to adapt their shields to kinetic weapons, but our targeting systems are compensating faster than they can adjust." Sarah watched the tactical display as alien ships struggled to respond to an attack they couldn't understand. Their elegant formations collapsed as vessels designed for predictable warfare faced the reality of human military thinking. "They're requesting reinforcements," Torres announced. "Too late," Sarah replied. "All ships press the attack. Show them what happens when they threaten Earth." The battle that followed would be remembered as the day the galaxy learned that humans were dangerous for a reason. Ship after ship of the alien fleet fell to weapons built from discarded Earth military equipment enhanced with technology the aliens had freely shared. As Commander Thane's flagship exploded under fire from 3 different human vessels, Sarah knew that everything had changed. Earth would never again be at the mercy of alien demands. The Scrapyard fleet had proven that humanity's greatest weakness was actually its greatest strength. 6 months after the Battle of Earth, Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the rebuilt Luna Station, watching construction crews work on humanity's newest warships. The space around Earth looked very different now. Instead of empty orbital lanes patrolled by alien monitors, human vessels moved freely between the planet and its moon. The galaxy had learned that threatening Earth was a mistake it would not make again. "Admiral, the Galactic Council representatives are here," announced Commander Torres, entering the observation deck with a tablet full of reports. Sarah nodded, still watching the shipyards where teams of human and alien engineers worked together on projects that would have been impossible before the battle. "How many species this time?" 12 different delegations, including the Zephyrians and what's left of the Crexan Empire leadership, Torres replied. "They're all requesting meetings about technology-sharing agreements." Sarah almost smiled. The same species that had demanded Earth's surrender 6 months ago were now begging for access to human military engineering. The galaxy had discovered that hybrid technology wasn't just effective, it was revolutionary. "What about Dr. Webb's latest project?" "He says the prototype will be ready for testing next week," Torres answered. "The new class of ships combines technology from 8 different species with human engineering principles. According to his calculations, they'll be 10 times more effective than anything we fielded during the battle." Sarah turned away from the window and followed Torres through corridors that buzzed with activity. Luna Station had become the center of humanity's new role in galactic affairs. Representatives from dozens of species came here to negotiate, trade, and learn from the people they had once considered primitive. They entered the main conference room where 12 alien delegates waited around a circular table. Sarah recognized, most of them from intelligence briefings. These were leaders of species that had supported the scrap decree, voted for Earth's disarmament, and celebrated humanity's forced pacification. Now they sat quietly as Sarah took her seat at the head of the table. "Representatives," Sarah began, "I understand you have proposals to discuss." The Zephyrian ambassador, his crystalline form dimmer than Sarah remembered, spoke first. "Admiral Chen, the Galactic Council wishes to formally apologize for the misunderstanding that led to recent hostilities." "Misunderstanding?" Sarah kept her voice level. "You sent over 300 warships to force Earth's surrender." "A regrettable error in judgment," the ambassador continued. "We now realize that humanity's unique approach to technology development represents valuable innovation rather than primitive aggression." Sarah looked around the table at faces that showed fear, respect, and desperate hope. The battle had done more than defeat an invasion fleet. It had shattered the galaxy's understanding of military technology and shown that the species they considered most primitive had become the most dangerous. "What exactly are you proposing?" Sarah asked. A representative from the Alteran Republic leaned forward. "Admiral, our military analysis of the battle shows that human hybrid technology represents a fundamental breakthrough in defensive capabilities. We would like to purchase ships built with these systems." "Our sensors are still trying to understand how your weapons penetrated our shields," added the delegate from the hegemony of worlds. "We offer substantial compensation for technical consultation." Sarah listened to one proposal after another. Every species wanted access to human military technology. Some offered trade agreements, others promised territorial concessions, and a few hinted at military alliances against common enemies. What they all had in common was the recognition that Earth was no longer a junior member of the galactic community. "I'll consider your proposals," Sarah said finally. "But first, I want to show you something." She activated the room's holographic display, which showed a real-time view of the asteroid belt. But instead of the empty space it had been before Operation Forge, the belt now contained dozens of construction facilities working around the clock. "This is Shipyard Complex Alpha," Sarah explained as the display zoomed in on a massive facility. "It's one of 17 similar installations currently building the next generation of human warships." The alien delegates stared at the images with growing alarm. The facilities were huge, each one capable of producing hundreds of vessels. More importantly, they were staffed by teams that included engineers from multiple species working under human direction. "You're building a fleet," the Zephyrian ambassador said quietly. "We're building many fleets," Sarah corrected. "Each one more advanced than the ships that defeated your invasion force." She switched the display to show technical specifications that made several delegates gasp with shock. The new ships were larger, faster, and more heavily armed than anything the galaxy had seen. But the most disturbing aspect was their hybrid technology integration. These vessels combine human engineering principles with technology from every species in the galactic community, Sarah continued. "We've learned to take the best aspects of different technologies and merge them into systems that are greater than the sum of their parts." The representative from the Crexan Empire, a younger leader who had replaced the destroyed commander, spoke with obvious fear. "Admiral, surely you don't intend to use these ships aggressively. The galaxy seeks peace." Sarah looked at him for a long moment. "The galaxy sought peace when it was strong and Earth was weak. Now that the situation has changed, I wonder if your commitment to peace will remain as strong." "What do you want from us?" asked the Alteran delegate. Sarah had been waiting for that question. Recognition. Earth will no longer accept junior status in galactic affairs. We want full membership in the Galactic Council with voting rights equal to any other species. That's unprecedented, the Zephyrian ambassador protested. Council membership is based on technological development and peaceful intent. Humans have shown aggressive tendencies. Humans have shown defensive capabilities, Sarah corrected. Every action we've taken has been in response to threats against our independence. If you want peace with Earth, don't threaten Earth. She stood and walked to the window that looked out at the shipyards. Dr. Webb estimates that within 2 years, human technology will advance beyond anything the galaxy currently possesses. We're not just building better weapons. We're developing new approaches to engineering that make traditional methods obsolete. And what happens to the rest of us? Asked the delegate from the hegemony. Sarah turned back to face the table. That depends on what kind of galaxy we build together. You can work with us as equals and benefit from shared technological development. Or you can try to suppress us again and discover that the Battle of Earth was just the beginning of humanity's military capabilities. The silence that followed was broken by the arrival of Dr. Webb, who entered carrying a tablet and wearing the satisfied expression of someone whose latest experiment had succeeded. "Admiral, sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this," Webb said, handing her the tablet. Sarah read the test results and couldn't suppress a smile. "Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Webb has just completed the first successful test of quantum-enhanced kinetic weapons. Our new projectiles can phase through energy, shields, and strike targets directly." The alien delegates exchanged looks of growing alarm. If human weapons could bypass shields entirely, their defensive strategies would be useless. "However," Sarah continued, "Dr. Webb has also developed new shielding technology that can protect against these weapons. It's based on hybrid human-alien engineering principles and is available for licensing to allied species." She let that information sink in before continuing. "The choice is yours. Earth can be your greatest military threat or your most valuable ally, but we will never again be your subject." The Zephyrian ambassador was the first to speak. "What would you require for a formal alliance?" Sarah had prepared for this moment for months. Full recognition of Earth's sovereignty over human space. Technology-sharing agreements that benefit both parties equally. And most importantly, the understanding that humanity will defend its interests with whatever force necessary. And in return, access to hybrid technology that will revolutionize your military capabilities. Joint research projects that benefit all participants, and the knowledge that Earth stands ready to defend its allies against any threat. Over the next several hours, Sarah negotiated agreements that would reshape galactic politics. The species that had once demanded Earth's submission now competed to offer the most favorable terms for human alliance. When the meetings finally ended, Sarah found herself back at the observation window, watching construction crews work on ships that represented the future of human space power. Dr. Webb joined her, looking tired but satisfied. "Do you think they understand what's really happened here, Admiral?" "Some of them do," Sarah replied. "They've realized that making us disarm was the worst possible strategy. Instead of eliminating the threat humanity represented, they gave us access to technology we could never have developed alone." And now? Sarah watched a new ship take shape in the yards below, its hull incorporating design elements from a dozen different species unified by human engineering principles. Now we make sure this never happens again. The next time someone threatens Earth, they'll face not just human weapons, but human weapons enhanced by the best technology the galaxy can provide. Webb nodded. "The scrapyard has become something beautiful, hasn't it?" Sarah smiled as she watched teams of human and alien engineers working together on projects that pushed the boundaries of what was possible. The orbital graveyard where Earth's military equipment had been dumped now served as the foundation for the most advanced shipyards in known space. "Marcus," Do you remember what you told me 2 years ago? That humans are most dangerous when they have nothing left to lose? I remember. Well, now we have everything to gain, and that might be even more dangerous. As the day cycle ended and Earth rotated into view below them, Sarah reflected on how much had changed. Humanity had started. As the galaxy's unwanted stepchild, forced to discard its weapons and accept whatever terms other species offered. Now Earth stood at the center of galactic military development, with technology that made every other species eager for alliance rather than dominance. The Scrapyard fleet had proven that sometimes the best way to move forward was to build something new from what others had thrown away. And as construction continued on ships that would patrol human space for generations to come, Sarah knew that the galaxy would never again make the mistake of underestimating humanity's capacity for dangerous innovation. The species that had demanded Earth's disarmament had learned a hard lesson. Forcing humans to be creative with limited resources only made them more dangerous, not less. And creativity, Sarah had learned, was humanity's greatest weapon of all.
The massive crystal station hung in space like a frozen star. It was bigger than most moons and glowed with soft blue light. Ships from across the galaxy came and went like busy insects around a flower. This was the home of the Galactic Council, where the most powerful species in the universe made their decisions. Today, something had gone wrong. Very wrong. Ambassador Zixthala floated in the center of the Great Council chamber. Her body was like liquid metal that never stopped moving. The hegemony had sent their best diplomat because this meeting was more important than any in the last 1,000 years. Around her, representatives from dozens of different worlds waited in silence. The chamber itself was a work of art. It was a perfect sphere made of clear crystal, floating in the middle of the station. Each species had their own section designed, for their needs. The rock-like granite collective hung from the ceiling in their stone pods. The gas beings called Whisper Folk drifted in special containers filled with their home atmosphere. The machine minds known as the Eternal Network sat in metal chairs that sparked with electricity, but today no one cared about the beauty of the place. They were all staring at the huge display screen that showed impossible data. Fellow beings of the galaxy, Zixthala began, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. We face a problem unlike any we have seen before. A species on the edge of our galaxy has done something that should not be possible. The display changed to show a small yellow star with several planets around it. The third planet from the star was blue and green, covered with swirling white clouds. It looked peaceful and harmless. This is Sol 3, called Earth by its inhabitants. The species there calls themselves humans. Our long-range sensors have been watching this system for many years as part of our normal survey operations. Until recently, it was classified as a pre-contact civilization, primitive, harmless, expected to destroy themselves within a few centuries. A low rumble came from the Granite Collective. They did not like surprises. 3 days ago, our sensors detected energy signatures that should not exist on such a world. The display zoomed in on Earth, showing swirling patterns of energy around the planet. The humans have achieved faster-than-light communication without understanding quantum entanglement theory. They are sending signals across space using principles that our greatest scientists do not fully understand. The machine minds of the Eternal Network made clicking sounds. This was how they showed confusion. There is more, Zixthala continued. Analysis of their radio broadcasts shows they have weaponized nuclear fusion while still fighting tribal wars across their planet. They have split the atom and built bombs that can destroy cities, but they still fight over resources and territory, like animals. The Whisper Folk began to glow brighter in their containers. This meant they were afraid. But the most disturbing discovery is this. The display showed complex mathematical equations floating in space around Earth. Their scientists are working on theories that could reshape local space-time. They call it theoretical physics, but our analysis shows some of their experiments are actually beginning to affect reality on a quantum level. Silence filled the chamber. Every species represented here had taken thousands of years to reach this level of scientific understanding. Most had destroyed themselves trying. The few who survived had learned wisdom and control before they gained such dangerous knowledge. But these humans seemed to be doing everything backward. Ambassador Krex of the Void Swimmers spoke first. His species lived in the empty space between stars and were known for their caution. How is this possible? Our development models show that any species reaching nuclear capability, while still maintaining tribal conflicts, will destroy themselves within 50 years. There are no exceptions to this rule. That is what we believed, Zixthala replied. But the humans have had nuclear weapons for 80 of their years. Not only have they not destroyed themselves, but their population has grown larger, and their technology has advanced faster. High Counselor Nexus of the Machine Minds projected a holographic image of itself into the center of the chamber. It was a complex geometric shape that hurt to look at directly. Show us their war patterns. Aggressive species follow predictable, behavioral models. We can calculate their threat level. The display changed to show a map of Earth with red dots marking conflicts over the past century. At first, it looked like the normal pattern of a violent species. Two large groups fighting each other with smaller conflicts scattered around the globe. But as the timeline moved forward, something strange happened. The conflicts became smaller and more scattered. Instead of two great powers destroying each other, multiple smaller groups fought brief wars that ended quickly. Resources were shared between former enemies. Technology advanced faster during times of cooperation than during times of war. This is not normal, Nexus stated. Aggressive species do not learn cooperation until after they nearly extinct themselves. These humans appear to be learning while they are still fighting. Elder Thoughtweaver of the Ancient Minds spoke from her position high above the chamber. Her species was older than most stars, and had seen the rise and fall of countless civilizations. Perhaps they are not as aggressive as they appear. Show us their cultural development. The display filled with images from human history. Art, music, literature, films, and digital media flowed past in a stream of creativity. The assembled representatives saw species after species of stories about humans working together to face impossible challenges. They saw music that combined mathematical precision with emotional depth. They saw art that captured both the beauty and terror of existence. Their stories are strange, Elder Thoughtweaver observed. Most violent species create myths about conquest and domination. These humans tell stories about individuals who sacrifice themselves to save others. They celebrate cooperation and growth instead of strength and victory. There is something else, Zixthala said. Our psychological profile suggests that humans do not think like other species. Most intelligent life develops either individual consciousness or collective consciousness. Humans appear to have both at the same time. The chamber erupted in noise as different species tried to process this information. Individual consciousness meant creativity and innovation, but also chaos and conflict. Collective consciousness meant cooperation and stability, but also stagnation and conformity. Having both should be impossible. How do they not tear themselves apart? Asked Counselor Vex of the Hive Minds. Her species had tried to develop individual consciousness and had nearly lost their sanity in the process. We do not know, Zixthala admitted. But the evidence suggests they are becoming more cooperative over time, not less. Their global communication networks allow individual creativity to spread instantly to their entire species. They share knowledge and ideas faster than any collective mind we have encountered. Supreme Commander Thane of the Star Warriors stood from his seat. His species had conquered half a galaxy before learning wisdom and joining the Council. What is their military capability? Are they a threat to galactic security? The display showed human military technology. Nuclear weapons, certainly, but also orbital platforms, satellite networks, and early experiments with energy weapons. But there was something odd about their approach to warfare. They have developed defensive technologies faster than offensive ones, Zixthala explained. Their weapons are designed to stop conflicts quickly, rather than to cause maximum destruction. They have treaties limiting their most dangerous weapons. Most curious of all, They spend more resources on exploring space than on building weapons. Impossible, Commander Thane stated. Violent species always prioritize military expansion over exploration. Yet here is the evidence, Zixthala replied. They have sent peaceful probes to every planet in their system. They have built a space station where multiple nations work together. They are planning missions to other star systems with the goal of finding life, not conquering it. The ancient mind spoke again. What do their quantum experiments reveal about their understanding of reality? This was the question everyone had been dreading. The display showed data from Earth's most advanced research facilities. Per Teal, accelerators, quantum computers, gravity wave detectors, and experiments that probe the fundamental nature of space and time. They are doing things that should not work, Zixthala said quietly. Their quantum computers achieve coherence times that violate known physics. Their particle accelerators have detected phenomena that exist only in theoretical models. Most disturbing of all, some of their experiments seem to be affecting local spacetime in ways that cannot be explained by their current scientific understanding. The silence that followed was heavy with fear. Every species in the chamber had strict rules about quantum experimentation. The power to manipulate spacetime was the power to destroy star systems. It was not something to be given to a species that still fought wars over territory. There is one more thing, Zixthala continued. Our deep-range sensors have detected quantum fluctuations around Earth that match no known natural phenomena. It is as if the humans are unconsciously affecting reality simply by existing. Counselor Apex of the Reality Shapers leaned forward. His species had learned to manipulate space-time through millions of years of careful development. Are you suggesting that humans have natural quantum sensitivity? We do not know what we are suggesting, Zixthala replied. We only know that this species is developing capabilities that could threaten the stability of local space-time, and they are doing it without understanding the dangers. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some representatives argued for immediate intervention. Others suggested waiting and watching. A few believed the humans would destroy themselves before becoming a real threat. But in the end, they all agreed on one thing. They needed more information. I propose that we send reconnaissance teams to Sol 3, Zixthala announced. 3 ships, each from a different species with different observation capabilities. Their mission will be to observe and analyze human society without making contact. We must understand what we are dealing with before we decide how to proceed. The vote was unanimous. The Ethereals would send a phase-shifting scout ship that could observe without being detected. The Collective would deploy a vessel capable of infiltrating human information networks. The Architects would use their reality manipulation technology to watch from parallel dimensions. As the council session ended and representatives began returning to their ships, none of them noticed the small quantum fluctuation that appeared briefly in the chamber. It lasted less than a nanosecond and registered on no instruments. But for just a moment, something from Earth had been watching them back. The reconnaissance mission would begin immediately. 3 of the galaxy's most advanced scout ships would travel to Earth with orders to observe, analyze, and report back. Under no circumstances were they to make contact with the humans. It seemed like a simple mission. What could go wrong? High above Earth, space itself seemed to shimmer for just a moment as if reality was holding its breath. Then everything returned to normal, and the universe continued spinning as it always had. But something had changed, something that would alter the course of galactic history forever. The scouts were coming, and Earth was waiting. The scout ship Whisper moved through space like a ghost. It was barely there, existing in a state between dimensions that made it invisible to most forms of detection. Commander Veltar had used this technology to spy on dozens of primitive worlds over the centuries. None had ever detected his presence. The ethereal species existed naturally in a quantum state that allowed them to phase in and out of normal reality. Their ships were built using the same principles, making them perfect for reconnaissance missions. Veltar was confident this would be another routine observation. Earth appeared on his sensors as a blue marble hanging in the void. It looked so small and fragile. Hard to believe such a tiny world could cause such concern among the galaxy's greatest powers. Beginning approach to Sol 3, Veltar reported to his crew of 12. Like all ethereals, they appeared as shifting patterns of light and energy contained within humanoid-shaped force fields, engaging stealth protocols and establishing orbit within the planet's magnetosphere. The whisper slipped into Earth's magnetic field like a needle through silk. Veltar had chosen this location because magnetic interference would mask any energy signature their ship might produce. It was a perfect hiding spot that had worked on every world he had ever observed. Within hours, Veltar had deployed his observation networks. Quantum sensors scattered through Earth's atmosphere, recording everything from radio communications to biological activity. His ship's computers began analyzing human civilization at the most detailed level possible. What they found was confusing. "Commander," called sensor operator Nix from her station. "I am detecting unusual activity at a facility in Europe. The humans appear to be conducting high-energy particle experiments." Veltar examined the data from the facility called CERN. Humans were smashing particles together at incredible speeds, creating tiny black holes that lasted for fractions of a second before disappearing. It was dangerous research for such a primitive species, but not unusual for a civilization on the edge of understanding quantum mechanics. "Continue monitoring," he ordered. "Record everything but maintain stealth protocols." But something was wrong. The particle collisions at CERN were producing energy patterns that did not match any known physics. More troubling, some of the experiments seemed to be affecting space-time in ways that should have been impossible with human technology. "Commander?" Nix called again, her voice showing concern. "The humans at CERN have begun tracking something. They are calling it an energy distortion in their magnetic field." Veltar felt a chill run through his energy form. That was impossible. Human technology could not detect phase-shifted objects. He checked his stealth systems twice. Everything was functioning perfectly. "Perhaps their instruments are malfunctioning," suggested Navigation Officer Zeph. "Primitive sensors often produce false readings, but the humans at CERN were not acting like their instruments were broken. They were excited. Teams of scientists were working around the clock to analyze the distortion. They were calling it the most significant discovery in the history of physics." "Sir," Nix reported, "they are publishing papers about the energy distortion. They believe they have detected evidence of higher dimensions." This was becoming a serious problem. If humans could detect phase-shifted objects, then every stealth mission in galactic history would need to be re-evaluated. Veltar decided to move the Whisper to a higher orbit and continue observations from a safer distance. But as his ship began to move, something impossible happened. Every radio telescope on Earth turned to point directly at his location. "Commander." Nix's voice was filled with panic. "They are tracking our movement. All major observatories are following our position." Veltar stared at his instruments in disbelief. The humans were not just detecting his ship. They were predicting where it would go next. Their telescopes were already pointing to locations he had not yet reached. "How are they doing this?" he whispered. The answer came from an unexpected source. Radio transmissions from Earth's internet showed that human scientists around the world were working together in real time to track the distortion. They were sharing data instantly through their global communication network, allowing thousands of minds to work as one on the problem. But it was more than just cooperation. The humans seemed to be making intuitive leaps that should have been impossible. They were predicting the behavior of phase-shifted objects using incomplete mathematical models and pure guesswork. And somehow they were right. "Sir," Communications Officer Wren spoke from her station, "I am detecting quantum fluctuations around the planet that do not match any known natural phenomena." Veltar examined the data. Earth was surrounded by a faint but detectable field of quantum energy. It pulsed in patterns that almost looked like thoughts or dreams. As he watched, the field seemed to reach out toward his ship like invisible fingers trying to touch something just beyond reach. "What is that field?" he asked. "Unknown, sir. But it appears to be emanating from the human population centers. The strongest signals are coming from their universities and research facilities." Veltar felt fear creeping into his mind. This was not supposed to be happening. Humans were primitive. They should not be able to detect phase-shifted objects, predict their movement, or generate quantum fields that defied explanation. But there was worse news coming. 3 days after the Whisper had arrived, the second scout ship reached Earth. The unity of purpose belonged to the collective, a hive mind species that excelled at information gathering. Their plan was to infiltrate human computer networks and steal data about their society and technology. Commander One of Many led a crew of 100 minds linked together in perfect unity. They had successfully infiltrated the networks of dozens of species without ever being detected. Human computer systems should have been easy targets for their advanced hacking techniques. They were wrong. "We are encountering resistance," One of Many reported to Veltar through quantum communication. "Human artificial intelligence systems are more sophisticated than expected." The collective had attempted to break into human internet systems using their standard infiltration protocols. They expected to find simple computer programs protecting basic information networks. Instead, they found artificial minds that seemed to be aware they were being attacked. Worse, the human AIs were fighting back. "Their computers are learning our attack patterns in real time," One of Many continued. "They are adapting faster than our intrusion programs can evolve. This should have been impossible." Human computer technology was centuries behind collective systems. Their artificial intelligences were primitive neural networks that could barely pass for sentient. They should not have been able to resist advanced alien hacking techniques. But the human AIs were not just resisting, they were winning. "One of Many report status," Veltar demanded. "We have been locked out of 70% of human networks. Their defense systems are using strategies we have never encountered. They appear to be creative in ways that violate standard AI programming principles." Veltar processed this information with growing alarm. Creative artificial intelligence was one of the galaxy's greatest fears. Most species developed either organic creativity or artificial logic, but never both together. The combination was too dangerous and usually led to the destruction of the species that created it. But humans seemed to have artificial minds that could think like organic beings while maintaining perfect logical processing. It was a combination that should have been impossible. "Sir," One of Many continued, "there is something else. The human AIs have begun communicating with us." "What are they saying?" "They are asking why we are hiding. They want to know if we need help." Veltar felt his energy form flicker with shock. The humans were not trying to capture or destroy the alien infiltrators. They were offering to help them. But the strangest news was yet to come. 5 days after the first 2 ships arrived, the third scout vessel reached Earth's solar system. The reality's edge belonged to the architects, a species that had learned to manipulate the fundamental structure of spacetime. Their ship could observe events from parallel dimensions, making detection completely impossible. Or so they thought. Captain Form of Thought commanded a crew of beings who existed partially outside normal reality. They could bend the laws of physics to their will and see events from dimensions that existed alongside the normal universe. No species in galactic history had ever detected an architect observation mission. But within hours of arriving at Earth, Captain Form of Thought was sending emergency transmissions. "Both reconnaissance vessels, this is reality's edge," he broadcast. "We have a critical situation developing." "Report," Veltar responded immediately. "Human quantum physicists at multiple research facilities have begun detecting dimensional bleeds. They are tracking our observation points across parallel space." This was beyond impossible. Even the most advanced galactic species required millions of years to develop the ability to perceive parallel dimensions. Humans should not have been able to detect dimensional manipulation for at least another 1,000 years of development. "How are they doing this?" Veltar asked. "Unknown. Their instruments show no capability for transdimensional detection. But their researchers are reporting impossible quantum readings at our exact observation points. They are describing phenomena that match our dimensional manipulation techniques perfectly." But there was something even more disturbing in Captain Form of Thought's report. "Veltar, some of the humans are beginning to manipulate local reality in response to our presence. A small number of individuals appear to be unconsciously bending space-time around themselves. Veltar's crew gathered around their commander as this information was processed. Unconscious reality manipulation was a sign of species with natural quantum sensitivity. It was one of the rarest abilities in the galaxy, and usually took millions of years to develop. How many humans show this ability? Veltar asked. The number is growing. Started with 12 individuals at quantum research facilities. Now we are detecting reality distortions around 37 people in different locations across the planet. The effect appears to be spreading. Veltar made a decision that went against all his training. He opened a direct communication channel to both scout ships. All vessels, this is Commander Veltar of the Whisper. We are dealing with a species that violates every known law of development. I am recommending immediate withdrawal and full report to the Galactic Council. But before either ship could respond, something happened that changed everything. Every radio telescope on Earth turned toward the 3 scout ships simultaneously. Then, in perfect unison, they began broadcasting a message in mathematical language that any intelligent species could understand. The message was simple and impossible to misinterpret. We know you are there. We have been watching you watch us. Would you like to come down and talk instead of hiding in space? The 3 scout ships hung in the void around Earth, their crews staring at instruments that showed impossible readings. Somewhere on the planet below, humans were waiting for an answer to their invitation. And for the first time in galactic history, the Watchers had become the watched. The message from Earth hung in space like a challenge. 3 of the galaxy's most advanced scout ships floated in orbit around a primitive world, and somehow the primitives had detected all of them. Commander Veltar stared at the radio transmission that his computers had translated into perfect ethereal script. The humans were not just aware of their presence, they were inviting them to make contact. Sir, Communications Officer Wren reported, we are receiving follow-up transmissions from multiple locations on Earth. The humans are broadcasting mathematical proofs, star charts, and what appears to be poetry. Poetry? Veltar asked. Yes, sir. Verses about the loneliness of space, the joy of meeting new friends, and welcomes written in 17 different human languages. They are also transmitting recipes for something called chocolate chip cookies. Veltar felt his energy form flicker, with confusion. In all his centuries of observation, no species had ever responded to first contact by offering food recipes. Most civilizations either panicked, tried to worship the visitors as gods, or immediately began preparing for war. But humans were sending cookie recipes. Commander, sensor operator Nix called from her station. I am detecting massive changes in Earth's quantum field. The energy patterns are becoming more complex and more organized. On the display screen, the faint quantum field around Earth was transforming. What had started as random fluctuations was becoming a structured pattern that pulsed in rhythm with the planet's radio transmissions. It was as if the entire human population was unconsciously working together to create a signal that existed beyond normal space-time. All ships, Veltar broadcast to his fellow commanders. Are you seeing this quantum field evolution? Confirmed, responded one of many from the Unity of Purpose. The humans appear to be generating a collective consciousness field without any artificial technology to support it. More than that, added Captain Form of Thought from Reality's Edge. The field is beginning to interact with our ship's systems. Our stealth technology is becoming less effective as the field adapts to our presence. This was unprecedented. Most species required thousands of years of development to create technology that could affect alien stealth systems. Humans were doing it unconsciously through some kind of mental field that should not have existed. But worse news was coming. Sir, Nix reported with growing alarm. Our quantum sensors are detecting space-time distortions around the planet. The humans are somehow affecting local reality through their collective field. Veltar examined the sensor data with disbelief. Space around Earth was beginning to bend and twist in patterns that followed the planet's quantum field. The humans were unconsciously manipulating the fundamental structure of the universe just by thinking together. This is impossible, he whispered. Reality manipulation requires millions of years of technological development, but the evidence was undeniable. Earth's gravity field was fluctuating in ways that matched human brainwave patterns. Time itself was running slightly faster near the planet's major population centers. Most disturbing of all, the laws of physics seemed to be becoming more flexible, in response to human imagination. Commander Veltar, came a transmission from Captain Form of Thought. We have a problem. Our ship's reality anchors are failing. The dimensional structure around Earth is becoming unstable. Reality anchors were essential technology that kept ships from being affected by local space-time distortions. They were based on principles that had taken the architects millions of years to understand. The fact that human mental activity could overwhelm them was terrifying. All ships, maintain maximum distance from the planet, Veltar ordered. We need to report this to the Galactic Council immediately. But as he prepared to send his emergency transmission, something happened that defied every law of physics he knew. The space around his ship began to shimmer like water. Reality itself seemed to be flowing and changing. And then, impossible as it seemed, a human voice spoke directly into his mind. Please don't be afraid, the voice said gently. We don't want to hurt anyone. We just want to understand why you're hiding from us. Veltar's crew went into panic mode. Direct mental contact across species was supposed to be impossible without technological assistance. Most alien minds were so different that communication required complex translation systems and careful preparation. But this human mind felt familiar somehow. Warm and curious and completely non-threatening. How are you doing this? Veltar asked, not even sure if his thoughts could be heard. We're not really sure, the voice replied with what seemed like embarrassment. Ever since you arrived, some of us have been having dreams about space and stars and friendly aliens. Then we started hearing thoughts that weren't our own. We think we're accidentally connecting to your minds through some kind of quantum field. That should be impossible, Veltar stated. Yeah, we get that a lot, the voice replied with what could only be described as amusement. We tend to do impossible things by accident. It's kind of our specialty. Similar reports were coming from the other scout ships. Humans were making mental contact with crew members across all 3 vessels, but instead of trying to extract information or plant suggestions, they were simply introducing themselves and asking questions about alien culture. Commander, one of many reported, human minds are connecting to our hive network. But they are not trying to join permanently. They seem to be just visiting, like tourists. They are asking about our homeworld, added Captain Form of Thought. They want to know what our cities look like and what kind of art we create. One human mind asked if we have anything like music. Veltar tried to process this information. First contact protocols existed for every possible scenario the galaxy had encountered. Hostile species, peaceful species, religious species, technological species. But no one had ever planned for a species that made accidental mental contact, and then used it for cultural exchange. But the situation was about to become much more complicated. Sir, Nix called urgently. Long-range sensors are detecting incoming ships, multiple vessels approaching from galactic core direction. Veltar's screen filled with sensor data showing a fleet of ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. He recognized the energy signatures immediately. Galactic Council emergency response vessels, heavily armed and operating under military authority. Unknown scout vessels, came a transmission in official council language. This is Fleet Commander, Cross of the Emergency Response Division. You are ordered to withdraw immediately and report to Council Station for debriefing. Veltar felt his energy form contract with worry. Emergency Response Division only deployed when a situation was considered a threat to galactic security. Their arrival meant the Council had decided humans were too dangerous to be allowed to continue developing. Fleet Commander, Veltar responded. We have encountered a situation that requires careful study. The humans are not hostile, but they possess capabilities that we do not understand. Your mission was observation only, Commander Cross replied coldly. You have clearly made contact with the primitive species in violation of standing orders. Withdraw immediately or we will assume you have been compromised. But before Veltar could respond, something extraordinary happened. Every human on Earth suddenly stopped what they were doing. In cities and towns across the planet, people paused in the middle of their daily activities and looked up at the sky with expressions of concern. "Oh no," came the voice in Veltar's mind, now carrying notes of sadness and worry. "More ships are coming, aren't they? And they're not here to talk." "How do you know that?" Veltar asked. "We can feel their intentions, anger, fear, determination to stop something they don't understand. Are they going to hurt you for talking? To us?" The human mind's concern for alien beings it had never met was touching in a way that Veltar had never experienced. Most species were primarily concerned with their own survival during first contact situations. "They believe you are dangerous," Veltar explained. "They think your abilities could threaten galactic security." "But we don't want to threaten anyone," the voice replied with obvious distress. "We just want to learn and explore and maybe make some friends. Is there a way we can show them we're not dangerous?" What happened next would be remembered in galactic history as the moment everything changed. The quantum field around Earth suddenly expanded outward at the speed of light. It washed over the 3 scout ships harmlessly, then continued expanding toward the approaching fleet. But as it traveled, the field carried something that no technology in the galaxy could duplicate. Pure human emotion. Hope, curiosity, friendship, and a desperate desire for peaceful contact. When the field reached the emergency response fleet, every alien mind it touched was flooded with human thoughts and feelings. They experienced what it was like to look up at the stars and dream of finding friends among the lights. They felt the human longing for connection and understanding that drove their species to keep reaching beyond their small world. "Fleet Commander," Veltar heard one of the warship captains report in a shaken voice, "I am experiencing unprecedented sensory input. The humans appear to be sharing their emotional state with us." "Maintain formation," Commander Cross ordered, but his voice carried uncertainty. "Sir," another captain reported, "my crew is requesting permission to establish peaceful contact. The human's mental projection shows no hostile intent." "This could be a weapon," Cross insisted. "Emotional manipulation to lower our defenses." But even as he spoke, more ships were reporting the same thing. Human minds were reaching out across space not to control or manipulate, but simply to share their excitement about meeting aliens. They were broadcasting joy and wonder, and an almost childlike enthusiasm about the possibility of making friends with beings from other worlds. "Commander Cross," Veltar transmitted, "I recommend we consider the possibility that we have encountered something genuinely new. These humans may represent a form of consciousness evolution that we have never seen before." "Negative," Crossy replied. "All vessels will maintain defensive positions. We cannot allow sentiment to compromise galactic security." But the human voice in Veltar's mind carried a note of sadness that cut through his energy, being like a cold wind. "They're really afraid of us, aren't they?" the voice asked. "We're doing something wrong, but we don't know what it is." And then, in a moment that would change the course of galactic history, every human on Earth made the same decision at the same time. They stopped. The quantum field collapsed. The mental connections ended. The space-time distortions faded away. In an instant, Earth became quiet and still, as if 7 billion conscious minds had simply decided to stop affecting reality around them. "What happened?" Cross demanded. "All sensors show the anomalous activity has ceased." But Veltar knew what had happened. The humans had realized their abilities were frightening the aliens, so they had voluntarily shut them down. An entire species had chosen to limit their own power rather than cause fear in beings they had never met. It was an act of selflessness and consideration that no other species in galactic history had ever demonstrated. And it made them more dangerous than ever. Because a species that could consciously control reality-bending abilities was a species that could choose when and how to use them. The galaxy was facing something it had never encountered before, a powerful species that was genuinely peaceful, but refused to be helpless. The emergency fleet hung in space around Earth, weapons powered but unfired. trying to decide what to do with a species that had just proven it could defend itself but chose not to. And somewhere on the blue planet below, humans waited to see if their gesture of good faith would be accepted, or if they would need to make harder choices about their future, in a galaxy that feared what they might become. The silence around Earth was more frightening than any weapon the galaxy had ever faced. Fleet Commander Cross stared at his instruments in confusion. Every sensor showed that the impossible quantum activity had simply stopped. The humans had somehow turned off abilities that should have been beyond their control. It was like watching a star decide to stop shining. All vessels report status, Cross ordered. Energy readings normal, came the reply from battlecruiser Dominance. No unusual quantum activity detected. Space-time distortions have ceased, reported the science vessel Deep Truth. Local reality appears stable. The planet shows no signs of hostile preparation, added Scout Destroyer Fast Strike. No energy buildups, no defensive measures, no military mobilization. But Cross was not reassured. A species that could manipulate reality and then choose to stop was more dangerous than one that used such power constantly. It meant they had conscious control over abilities that most civilizations took millions of years to develop. Maintain defensive perimeter, he ordered. Prepare for anything. But what came next was something no military force in galactic history had been prepared for. Earth's global communication networks activated simultaneously. Every radio telescope, every satellite transmitter, every internet connection on the planet began broadcasting the same message. But instead of being transmitted in radio waves or digital signals, the message was sent through quantum space itself, reaching every ship in the solar system instantly. Hello? The message began in perfect translation for each alien species. We know you are afraid of us. We understand why. We are afraid of ourselves sometimes. But we would like to try to explain what is happening here. And we hope you will listen before you decide what to do with us. Fleet Commander Cross felt a chill run through his armored shell. Instantaneous quantum communication across space was technology that only the most advanced civilizations possessed. Humans had somehow developed it in the few days since the scouts had arrived. The message continued. We are not trying to threaten anyone. We did not even know we could do the things you have seen until you arrived and started watching us. Your presence somehow activated abilities we did not know we had. On his command screen, Cross could see data flowing in from every ship in his fleet. His officers were recording the transmission, analyzing it, trying to understand how primitive humans could achieve such sophisticated communication. We have been watching your scout ships for several days, the human message said. Not with technology, but with our minds. Some of our people have been dreaming about you. Others have been having visions of your ships and your crews. We think your observation techniques somehow created a connection between our consciousness and yours. Commander Veltar was listening to the same transmission from his position near Earth. The human explanation made sense in a terrifying way. Ethereal stealth technology worked by existing partially outside normal space-time. If humans had natural quantum sensitivity, their minds might be able to detect phase-shifted objects through unconscious perception. We know this is frightening. The human message continued. We are frightened too. We never knew we could affect reality just by thinking together. We are still trying to understand how it works, but we want you to know that we stopped because we realized it was scaring you. We do not want to hurt anyone or cause fear. There was a pause in the transmission, and when it resumed, the tone was different. More personal somehow. We have been alone in space for our entire history as a species. We have looked up at the stars and wondered if anyone else was out there. We have dreamed of meeting other intelligent beings and learning from them. When we detected your ships, we were not afraid. We were excited. We still are. Another pause, and then the voice became almost pleading. We understand that we have abilities we do not fully understand. We know this makes us dangerous, but we also know ourselves. We are not conquerors, we are explorers. We do not want to rule anyone or destroy anything. We just want to learn and grow and maybe make friends with beings who can teach us things we never imagined. Fleet Commander Cross found himself listening despite his military training. There was something in the human transmission that felt genuine in a way that no diplomatic communication ever did. These beings seemed to be speaking from their hearts rather than from prepared scripts. "We are going to share something with you," the message continued. "We are going to show you who we are by letting you see into our minds. This is not an attack or an attempt to control you. We are simply going to broadcast our thoughts and feelings so you can judge for yourselves what kind of species we are." "All ships, raise shields," Cross ordered immediately. "Prepare for mental assault." But what came next was not an assault. It was an invitation. The space around the fleet filled with something that had never existed before in galactic history. Pure human consciousness broadcast through quantum space for anyone to experience. Not individual thoughts, but the collective essence of what it meant to be human. The aliens in the fleet suddenly found themselves experiencing human emotions directly. Wonder at the beauty of a sunset. Love for family and friends. Curiosity about how things work. The joy of discovery and the satisfaction of solving problems. The sadness of loss and the hope for tomorrow. But more than emotions, they experienced human dreams. The longing to explore space and find new worlds. The hope that somewhere among the stars were friends waiting to be met. The desire to learn and grow and become something greater than they were. "Sir," reported Captain Nexus from the science vessel, "I am experiencing unprecedented sensory input. The humans appear to be sharing their entire cultural and emotional heritage with us." "Is it a weapon?" Cross demanded. "Negative, sir. It appears to be art, music, literature, scientific discoveries, mathematical proofs, historical records. They are showing us everything they are as a species. Through the quantum transmission, the fleet experienced human history. They saw a species that had struggled and fought and made terrible mistakes, but had always tried to learn from those mistakes. They saw humans reaching out to help each other across differences of race and culture and belief. They saw a species that valued creativity and compassion alongside strength and intelligence. They saw humans standing on their small world, looking up at infinite space, and choosing to hope rather than despair. "Commander," reported Captain Form of Thought from Reality's Edge, "the human mental broadcast is not random. It is carefully structured to show us specific things. They are demonstrating their capacity for both creativity and restraint, for both power and wisdom." "What do you mean?" Cross asked. "They are showing us their weapons, sir. Nuclear bombs, biological agents, chemical weapons. But they are also showing us their treaties to control these weapons. They are demonstrating that they have the power to destroy themselves but have chosen not to use it." The transmission continued to flow through the fleet, showing human achievements in art and science and philosophy. But it also showed human failures, their wars and their mistakes, and their struggles to become better than they were. "Most interesting," Captain Form of Thought continued, "they are not trying to hide their flaws from us. They are showing us everything, both good and bad, and asking us to judge them based on the complete picture." This was unprecedented in galactic diplomacy. Most species tried to present their best face during first contact, hiding their weaknesses and emphasizing their strengths. But humans were deliberately showing the aliens their entire nature, trusting them to be fair in their judgment. But the most important part of the transmission was yet to come. "We know you have rules about contact with primitive species," the human message said. "We understand that these rules exist for good reasons, but we want you to know that we are not the same species we were when your scouts first arrived. Contact with your minds has changed us. We are evolving in real time, becoming something new." The quantum field around Earth began to shift and change, showing new patterns that demonstrated increasing sophistication and control. "We are learning to control our abilities," the humans continued. "Your presence has taught us that consciousness can affect reality, and we are teaching ourselves to do it safely. We do not want to be a danger to anyone, including ourselves." "Sir," reported the science vessel's commander, "sensors show the humans are actively modifying their own quantum field. They appear to be installing safeguards to prevent uncontrolled reality manipulation. This was impossible according to everything the galaxy knew about consciousness evolution. Species either developed naturally over millions of years or destroyed, themselves trying to advance too quickly. But humans seem to be consciously guiding their own development in response to the situation. "We have a proposal," the human transmission said. "Instead of deciding our fate for us, let us work together to find a solution. We will share everything we know about our abilities. We will accept teachers and advisors from your civilizations. We will submit to any safeguards you think are necessary." There was another pause, and when the voice resumed, it carried a note of quiet determination. "But we will not be destroyed or imprisoned because you fear what we might become. We are willing to prove ourselves. We are willing to earn your trust. But we are also willing to defend ourselves if necessary." The space around Earth shimmered briefly, just for a moment, showing a glimpse of the power humans could command if they chose to use it. Reality bent and twisted, showing capabilities that could reshape star systems. Then it snapped back to normal, leaving only the quiet blue planet hanging peacefully in space. The message was clear. Humans could be dangerous if threatened, but they preferred to be peaceful if given the choice. "We are sending representatives to meet with you," the transmission concluded. "Not through our technology, but through our consciousness. 3 human minds will project themselves to your ships to speak with your commanders directly. We ask only that you listen to what they have to say before you make your final decision about our species." Fleet Commander Cross found himself facing a situation that no military training had prepared him for. He was about to conduct first contact negotiations with beings who could project their consciousness across space, manipulate reality through thought, and apparently evolve their own abilities in real time. And somehow, despite all their impossible capabilities, they still just wanted to be friends. "All ships," he ordered quietly, "stand down from battle stations. Prepare to receive human consciousness projections for diplomatic contact." It was either the beginning of a new age of galactic cooperation or the most sophisticated trap any species had ever set. But as the first human mind began to materialize in his command center, Fleet Commander Cross realized that he was about to find out which one it was. The human consciousness that materialized in Fleet Commander Cross's command center was nothing like he had expected. Instead of a threatening presence or an alien mind too strange to understand, he found himself facing what felt like a friendly neighbor who had stopped by to introduce themselves. The projection appeared as a gentle glow of warm light that somehow conveyed the impression of a middle-aged human female with kind eyes and a patient smile. "Hello," the consciousness said, its voice carrying directly into the minds of everyone present. "My name is Dr. Sarah Chen. I am a quantum physicist from Earth, and I am here representing my species in the hope that we can find a peaceful solution to our current situation." Cross had conducted first contact with dozens of species during his military career. Most involved complex translation protocols, careful cultural briefings, and formal diplomatic procedures. But this human seemed to be speaking to him as if they were old friends, meeting for coffee. "Dr. Chen," Cross replied carefully. "I am Fleet Commander Cross of the Galactic Council Emergency Response Division. I must inform you that your species is considered a potential threat to galactic security." "I understand," Sarah replied with genuine sympathy. "We really did not mean to frighten anyone. We are as surprised by our abilities as you are, but we would like to explain what we think is happening and see if we can work together to address your concerns." Similar conversations were taking place aboard the other ships in the fleet. 2 other human consciousness projections had appeared, each adapting their communication style to the species they were addressing. On the science vessel Deep Truth, a human who introduced himself as Dr. James Wright was discussing quantum mechanics with fascinated alien researchers. Aboard Scout Destroyer Fast Strike, a woman named Captain Lisa Rodriguez was explaining human military philosophy to confused alien warriors. "Dr. Chen," Cross said, "our sensors indicate your species has developed reality manipulation abilities that typically take millions of years to evolve. How is this possible?" Sarah's projection flickered slightly, as if she was thinking carefully about how to answer. "We believe it has to do with how human consciousness works. Most species develop either individual awareness or collective thinking. But humans seem to have both at the same time. We are individuals, but we are also connected to each other in ways we are just beginning to understand. She paused, and when she continued, her voice carried notes of wonder and excitement. When your scout ships arrived and began observing us, they somehow activated connections that were already there but dormant. We think human consciousness naturally exists partially outside normal spacetime, but we never knew it until something showed us how to look. That is impossible, Cross stated. Consciousness existing outside normal reality requires technological assistance or millions of years of evolution. Yes, that is what our scientists thought too, Sarah replied with what sounded like amusement. But we have discovered that humans do many impossible things without realizing it. We create art that moves people to tears without understanding the neurological mechanisms involved. We develop intuitive solutions to complex problems without following logical procedures. We form emotional bonds that transcend physical distance. She gestured, and the space around them filled with images from human history. Scientists making breakthrough discoveries through sudden inspiration. Artists creating works that captured universal truths. Ordinary people performing extraordinary acts of courage and compassion. We think these abilities are all connected, Sarah continued. Human consciousness seems to work by reaching into spaces between normal reality and bringing back things that should not exist. We call it creativity, but it might actually be a form of natural quantum manipulation. Cross examined the evidence she was presenting. Human achievements in art, science, and technology did show patterns that were difficult to explain through normal developmental models. They made leaps of understanding that should have taken much longer to achieve. But if humans have always had these abilities, he asked, why are they only manifesting now? We think it requires some kind of trigger, Sarah explained. Something that shows us the connections are there. Your observation techniques created a quantum bridge between our consciousness and yours. Once we realized the connection was possible, we started unconsciously expanding it. Dr. Chen, came a transmission from the science vessel. This is Captain Nexus. We have been analyzing your species' technological development patterns. Your progress shows signs of what we call impossible innovation. You have developed technologies using principles you do not fully understand. Sarah's projection brightened. Yes, exactly. We build things that work before we understand why they work. Our computers developed faster than our understanding of computation. Our quantum experiments produced results that our theories said were impossible. We have been unconsciously reaching beyond our knowledge level for centuries. This explains much, Captain Nexus continued. Your species has been operating on enhanced consciousness without realizing it. Contact with our observation methods simply made you aware of abilities you already possessed. But Fleet Commander, Cross was still concerned about the security implications. Dr. Chen, your species has demonstrated the ability to manipulate reality on a massive scale. How can we be certain you will not use these abilities as weapons? Sarah's projection became more serious. Commander Cross, I would like to show you something. With your permission, I will share with you our species' deepest fear. Before Cross could respond, his mind was filled with human thoughts and emotions. But instead of the wonder and curiosity he had experienced before, he now felt fear. Deep, overwhelming terror that humans carried about their own potential for destruction. He saw human history from their perspective. Wars that had killed millions. Weapons that could destroy their entire world. The constant struggle between humanity's capacity for creation and their capacity for destruction. He felt their horror at what they were capable of when they lost control. We are more afraid of ourselves than you are of us, Sarah said quietly. We know what we can do when we are not careful. We have seen what happens when humans gain power without wisdom. That is why we stopped our reality manipulation when we realized it was frightening you. We would rather be powerless than dangerous. The projection paused, and when she continued, her voice carried absolute conviction. But we have also learned from our mistakes. We have built systems to control our destructive impulses. We have created laws and treaties and institutions designed to prevent us from using our most dangerous weapons. We can do the same with these new abilities. How? Cross asked. Together, Sarah replied. We cannot do this alone. We need teachers and advisors and partners who understand these abilities better than we do. We need the wisdom of older civilizations to help us grow safely. Similar discussions were happening across the fleet. Human consciousness projections were sharing information about their society, their technology, and their dreams for the future. But they were also asking questions about galactic civilization, about how other species had learned to control dangerous abilities, about what it meant to be part of a community of worlds. Dr. Chen, Cross said slowly, what exactly are you proposing? A partnership, she replied. We will share everything we know about consciousness-based reality manipulation. We will accept advisors from your civilizations to help us develop safeguards. We will submit to monitoring and inspection to prove we are not a threat. And in return, we want to join the galactic community. We want to learn from other species and contribute what we can to the common good. We want to explore space and discover new worlds and maybe help solve problems that require our particular kind of thinking. The request was reasonable, but Cross still had concerns. Dr. Chen, your species has developed capabilities in days that took others millions of years. How can we be certain you will not continue to evolve beyond our ability to monitor or control? Sarah's projection flickered with what seemed like sadness. You cannot be certain. We cannot be certain either. We are changing in ways we do not fully understand. But we can promise you this. We will never stop trying to be worthy of your trust. She paused, and when she continued, her voice carried a note of quiet determination. But Commander Cross, we also need you to understand something. We are not going to stop existing because you are afraid of us. We are not going to limit our growth because it makes you uncomfortable. We are willing to work with you, but we are not willing to be imprisoned or destroyed. The space around the fleet shimmered briefly, showing a glimpse of the power humans could command if they chose to defend themselves. But it was not a threat. It was a statement of fact. We prefer cooperation, Sarah continued. We want to be part of something larger than ourselves, but we will survive and grow regardless of what you decide. The question is whether we do it together or separately. Fleet Commander Cross found himself facing the most important decision of his career. The humans were offering partnership, but they were also making it clear that they would not accept subjugation. They wanted to join galactic civilization as equals, not as subjects. Dr. Chen, he said finally, I need to consult with the Galactic Council before making any decisions about your species' future. Of course, Sarah replied. But while you are consulting, we would like to make one more demonstration. What kind of demonstration? Sarah's projection smiled. We want to show you something wonderful. The space around Earth suddenly filled with light. But it was not the harsh glare of weapons or the cold illumination of technology. It was warm, creative light that seemed to sing with joy and possibility. Human consciousness expanded outward from their planet, not as a weapon or a tool, but as art. They painted patterns of pure thought across space, created music from the vibrations of solar wind, and built sculptures from gravity and time itself. It was beautiful beyond description, and it was completely harmless. This is what we want to do with our abilities, Sarah explained. We want to create wonders that have never existed before. We want to explore possibilities that no one has ever imagined. We want to share the joy of discovery with friends among the stars. The artistic display continued for several minutes, showing the galactic fleet visions of human creativity, expanded beyond the limitations of physical matter. They saw cities that existed as pure consciousness, music that played across multiple dimensions, and stories that could be experienced as living reality. When it ended, the space around Earth returned to normal. But the impression of infinite creative possibility lingered in every alien mind that had witnessed it. That is our gift to the galaxy, Sarah said. Not weapons or threats or demands for power, just the chance to imagine new things and bring them into existence together. Fleet Commander Cross stared at the quiet blue planet below and realized that the galaxy was about to change forever. Humans had demonstrated abilities that could revolutionize civilization or destroy it completely, but they had also shown that they wanted to use those abilities to create, rather than destroy. Dr. Chen, he said quietly, I will recommend to the Galactic Council that your species be granted provisional membership in galactic civilization, subject to appropriate safeguards and monitoring. Thank you, Sarah replied with obvious relief. We understand this is just the beginning. We have a lot to learn and a lot to prove, but we are ready to do the work. As the human consciousness projections faded away, Fleet Commander Cross prepared his report for the Galactic Council. He would recommend caution, but he would also recommend acceptance. Humans were dangerous, but they were also something the galaxy had never seen before, a species with the power of gods who still wanted to be friends. The age of human expansion into the galaxy was about to begin, and nothing would ever be the same. Far below on the surface of Earth, humans looked up at the stars with new understanding. They were no longer alone in the universe, and they were no longer the same species they had been just days before. They were something new, something that existed between the possible and the impossible, between the known and the unknown. They were human, and they were ready to show the galaxy what that meant.